Cast from CBS Sports.
High drive, center field, hit the wall, grand slam. This is magnificent.
Got a fantasy question? Email fantasybaseball@cbsi.com. Get ready to win your league.
Where fantasy becomes reality.
Now here's Frank, Scott, Chris, and Adam.
All right, another week is in the books. Happy Monday and welcome into Fantasy Baseball today on May 17th. Frank Sample joined as always by Scott White and Chris Towers. Busy show today for you, recapping the entire weekend. What is going on with Lucas Giolito and Shane Bieber? Some starting pitchers for this upcoming week. A bunch of waiver wire options. Corey Seager has a fracture in his hand and much more. What's up, Scott? How was your weekend, buddy?
Not great.
Oh.
I lost two very close matchups that I could have won. It was in hand. Just needed Shane Bieber to come through with not even the typical Shane Bieber start. Just, not a bad start. Couldn't do it. He couldn't do it. So in two head-to-head points leagues this week, I lost as the second highest scoring team. And in one of those leagues, that was the second time already that's happened this year. So
that's rough.
Yeah.
Scott, we're gonna buy you was the second highest scoring team in two different losses banner. So don't worry, you're still gonna get one this year.
That's great. Love to hear that. Yeah. Yeah. No. I know the thing people say is, just don't play head to head. But I like the rules. I just don't like the luck. Okay.
It's fun. Like this is it stinks when you're on the bad end, but to quote that guy in Big Lebowski, sometimes you eat the bear, sometimes the bear,
I
Exactly.
do.
Yeah, that quote. Yeah, I love that movie. I've never seen it. Anyway,
You should see it, man.
I should see it. I mean, but I'll add it to the list of whatever 500 movies that I still need to watch. Anyway, for those who play in head-to-head points leagues, and this happens to you often, you're kind of on the short end of the stick. Something that I always like to play with, and I do this in football too. I think the top 5 teams that make the playoffs, assuming you play in a 12-team league and 6 teams make the playoffs, I think the top 5 should be record, and then the 6 teams should just be the most points after those top 5 records. It seems like the most fair thing to do, or you could play weekly doubleheaders, and that kind of knocks some of the luck out of it as well. But it's not the same. Anyway, let's recap the weekend.
Oh my goodness gracious!
All right, Chris, we'll get things started with you, buddy, old boy. Oh, his eyes are lighting up. Normally, I ask them who their oh my goodness gracious players are before we start. I didn't ask anybody today, so I'm going to be 100% surprised with the rest of you. Chris, your oh my goodness gracious player from the weekend.
Let's go with Kyle Hendricks.
All right.
At his best start of the season today, 8 one-run innings. It was against the Tigers, but you know what? He hadn't been good against anybody so far. 8 strikeouts, 0 walks, 8 hits, 105 pitches to get through 8 innings. He looked like Kyle Hendricks for the most part today. There was a bit more loud contact than you would typically like to see from Kyle Hendricks on the pitching side, but you know what? Average exit velocity allowed, 90.6 miles per hour. It's a little high, but it's not so high that it's terribly worrisome. I think this was exactly what you wanted to see from Kyle Hendricks in this start.
Yeah, he gives you the volume, goes deep against the Detroit Tigers, a team that actually has been playing much better as of late, but goes 8 innings, 1 run, 0 walks, 8 strikeouts for Kyle Hendricks in this one. You mentioned the average exit velocity. He allowed 12 hard hit balls in this game. So I don't think we're clear yet with Kyle Hendricks, but hopefully a sign of things to come.
2 of his last 3 have been really good.
Yeah. One of those came against the Dodgers too, so that was a legit start.
Yes. Complete game in the doubleheader, 7 innings against the Dodgers.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's fine. I'm pretty much not worried about him at all now.
I mentioned that we have a starter sit segment coming later on, and Kyle Hendricks is in that because I do think, if you play in a 12-team league with either 5 or 6 starting pitchers, he might be on that fringe for you, assuming you have some 2-star pitchers you want to get in there as well. So, Scott, starter sit Kyle Hendricks this week at the St. Louis Cardinals?
I think I'd sit him. I don't know. I recommended most people sit him against the Tigers, and obviously that could have gone better, but I don't know. I'm having a hard time with these great pitchers who are bad for a long time, and then knowing when to have them in the lineup, when to just keep taking your lumps.
But it's not
obviously
really
the Tigers, the worst scoring offense. That there was obviously a logical argument to keep Hendricks in the lineup, but I just gotten burned badly by him against the Pirates. So
yeah, he's only really had 3 really bad. I mean, opening day was 3 runs in 3 innings. That's bad. But in terms, he had that one, he had 7 earned runs in 2 different starts and then 4 in another one. But it's not like he's been Luis Castillo bad, to name but one example. So I feel pretty confident in Kyle Hendricks moving forward. I'm going to just view Kyle Hendricks like Kyle Hendricks at this point.
So a must-start starting pitcher, right, Chris?
Yeah. I mean, 3 walks in his last 4 starts after a couple of early games where he walked a couple guys. I think he's Kyle Hendricks.
If you wanted something to make you feel better about starting him this week, the St. Louis Cardinals are 25th in weighted on base average versus right-handed pitching. So a fairly decent matchup here coming up this week for Kyle Hendricks. Scott, your oh my goodness gracious player from the weekend.
I think I'm going to go with Dylan Bundy, who probably needs to be added to this list of starters who've been bad for a while. After his last start, I was marveling that his ERA is over 5, despite having 5 out of 7 quality starts at that point. Well, now his ERA is over 6 because he had his worst start yet on Saturday. I don't really think anything's wrong with him. I mean, the xFIP is just a little higher than it was last year, and it was lower than before this start. The xERA is about 3.5. He's actually throwing his fastball almost 2 miles per hour harder on average than he did last year, and the spin rate is way up on all of his pitches. So I feel like we should be seeing an even better Bundy this year. Now, last year he had like an ERA of 3.20, probably had some good home run luck. So I'm not saying he should have an ERA that low again, but mid-3s, I think that's about right for what you should expect from Bundy. And it's just unfortunate that the last 2 starts have gone how they have. I think I'd be sticking with him for now because I do still trust him rest of season.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And I was surprised to see that he is the 6th most dropped starting pitcher on CBS leagues. Now, his roster rate has dropped 8 percentage points. So from 91% to 83%. So maybe that accounts for some 10-team leagues where people have absolutely stacked pitching. But I still think that I would want to hold on to Dylan Bundy myself for the reasons that you mentioned, Scott. And I also had him as one of these fringy starter sit pitchers, same category as Kyle Hendricks for this upcoming week. And he is going up against the Minnesota Twins at home. So, Scott, would you start him there?
I think I'd have to be in a pretty shallow league with some pretty good pitching alternatives to sit him. And look, I could see it in like a head-to-head league, 5 pitchers started. If you got enough 2-start options that you have to bump somebody, maybe it makes sense to bump Bundy. But unless it's obvious that Bundy's the one who needs to sit, I probably just start him.
And the Minnesota Twins this year are 7th in weighted on base average versus right-handed pitching. So a little bit of a tougher matchup, not a little bit, a bona fide tougher matchup than the St. Louis Cardinals are for Kyle Hendricks this upcoming week. Let's talk about Lucas Giolito. He's my oh my goodness gracious player from the weekend, and you might have forgot because he started all the way back on Friday. But at the Kansas City Royals, he allowed 5 runs over 6 innings pitched, did finish with 7 strikeouts, 3 more walks. The ERA now up to 4.97. The walks per 9, a 3-year high, 3.9 walks per 9 for Lucas Giolito. He has 11 walks over his last 4 starts. He's also allowing a lot more home runs this year as well, which is kind of weird because really to this point, we've been talking about everyone's home run to fly ball ratio kind of being a little bit more suppressed than we're used to seeing. So, Chris, what is going on with Lucas Giolito? How much confidence do you have in him getting back on track?
I'm pretty confident in him. Like Luis Castillo, the results have been really bad so far. Especially with his slider. Lucas Giolito's, he has a 450 WOBA. allowed on the slider, 382 xWOBA, so still really bad. Whiff rate down from 53% last season to 31% this season. So one of his main put away pitches has really betrayed him. As far as the why this is happening, that's a much tougher question to answer. He's throwing his fastball almost a mile per hour lower than he did in 2019, which was the breakout season. But he's throwing his changeup and slider harder. Maybe he needs more separation between those pitches. I don't know exactly what the answer is there, but he's a weird pitcher in that he's had a lot of fluctuation in terms of like his extension on various pitches, the distance from the pitching rubber to where he releases the ball. And so it could be something as simple as just his mechanics are a little off and he's not getting the kind of movement that he needs to get on his slider for it to be effective. I don't know. I can't say I've delved deeply into that enough, but the slider does seem to be the main issue for Giolito right now. And, I think you can take some positives from that. Like his changeup is his primary secondary pitch, and that's been as good as ever. So on that account, I think that's a reason to be positive because the slider, it does seem as if it's mostly just he's having some trouble finishing batters off with, when he's trying to put them away with the slider. I would guess I'm going to look it up now, but I would guess he has some reverse split issues when I look at this. And yeah, he's getting crushed by right-handed hitters. 886 OPS allowed to righties, 574 versus lefties. And so that makes sense. His slider hasn't been effective. Historically, he hasn't really had a big platoon split. So I think there are reasons to explain why he's been bad, but I don't think they are necessarily reasons to significantly drop him in your estimation.
Yeah, I agree. He's missing bats like he is. Like he's going to come around. It's a 4.97 ERA through 8 starts. 2 years ago, his breakout season, he had an 8-start stretch with a 5.70 ERA. So, it happens. It happens. Even last year, I was looking at last year's game log, and last year we think was even better than that breakout season. But to end the year, he had, let's see, it was an ERA over 4 over his final 5 starts. So I just think he's the kind of pitcher who's going to run really hot at times, and he's going to have these blips at times. Like he just doesn't have the level of consistency you see from other high-end starters, which has been true of Luis Castillo over his career.
Yep.
And I think look at the past couple of years, it's been true of Giolito too. But I think this stuff is going to be fine. I think he's going to be fine.
Yeah, here's I think some more evidence for the kind of he's just not finishing guys off theory. In plate appearances where he's gotten to 2 strikes, he's striking out 45.5% of them. The previous 2 seasons, it was 52.2 and 52.5. Those are relatively small margins. You're talking about 6 or 7 strikeouts here or there. But, pitching is a narrow margin activity. So I think that's he's probably just a little bit off, I think is the best explanation.
Yep. Lucas Giolito, again, the name that we're talking about here, working through some inconsistency issues. Would you guys keep him in the lineup this week at the Minnesota Twins?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, just an honorable mention. We've got to talk about Shane Bieber. We was getting a few tweets earlier on Sunday, and at the Seattle Mariners, Bieber just looks kind of off a little bit right now, having some issues with control, some first pitch strikes that he's not getting the way that he has in years past. 4 2/3, 3 earned runs, 4 walks, 7 strikeouts. His 20-start streak with 8+ strikeouts is now over. He has 3 or more walks in 5 of 9 starts this year. The whip is up to 1.22. Anything here with Shane Bieber, or is this just kind of a weird thing going on with him?
I think it's a case of him being a little off too. You point out the walk totals, 5 of 9 this year, 3 or more. And I think last year it was like 3 of 12 or something like that. Yeah, 3 of 12 last year with 3 walks or more. So that's atypical for him. Yeah, I think he's just going through a little bit of a rough patch, basically. I think he's going to come out the other side fine and be one of the best 3 pitchers in baseball still. He's just kind of fighting it right now.
Yeah, I think like his slider looks a little different this year. He's throwing it harder and getting a lot more spin. His spin rate is up about 150 RPM from last season. That kind of drastic change, maybe he's just having a little bit of trouble, controlling it, throwing it for strikes as often, and he's, backed away from his cutter, especially. So, it could be just that he's kind of traded cutters for sliders, and sliders are harder to throw for strikes.
Yeah, I noticed that his cutter usage last year, he threw that pitch 16% of the time. This year, it's non-existent. He's not using it. I wonder if
it was his worst pitch.
Yeah. I wonder if he's throwing his slider harder, if he kind of just made like a hybrid pitch between like his cutter and his slider this year, and maybe he's just having some issues with that. But
yeah, maybe
the pitch mix is a little bit different. And the thing that really pointed out to me, and even watching the start, he was getting squeezed a little bit on Sunday. I was watching the Mariners feed. I had to watch Jared Kelenic because why not? It's fun. But the Mariners feed was even saying like, come on, this is Shane Bieber. This is Cy Young Award winner, and he's not getting these calls. So there were a lot of like close calls he just wasn't getting. So he was getting squeezed a little bit. 58% first pitch strike percentage so far for Bieber this season. That is a career low. It's never been below 63%. So if anyone in your league is freaking out about Bieber, send those trade offers in.
I mean, they're probably not. He still has a 3.17 ERA, but
it's probably it's going to be not impossible. Nothing is impossible, but probably close to it. It is PGA Championship week, and the First Cut has your podcast needs covered for golf's second major. Join Rick Gaiman, Kyle Porter, and Mark Immelman live every single day for the 2021 PGA Championship at Kiowa Island's famed ocean course just outside Charleston, South Carolina. From DFS previews to worthwhile wagers and even round-by-round recaps, the First Cut has it. Find the First Cut on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and even live on YouTube. What the heck is Frank wearing? If you are watching on YouTube, I am watching a very flamboyant, colorful jersey. This is the Los Dorados de Sacramento. It is a special edition jersey from the Sacramento River Cats, the AAA affiliate for the San Francisco Giants. And I won their giveaway. So I just wanted to give a nice little shout out there to the Sacramento River Cats. Follow them on Twitter at Rivercats. Check them out, rivercats.com, the home of Giants prospect Joey Bart. Currently playing there. Maybe we'll see him at some point this year. Would be fun. Some news and notes from the weekend. Corey Seager will not require surgery, but will miss at least 4 weeks after fracturing the 5th metacarpal in his right hand. If you need a shortstop replacement, who you guys like most? Gavin Lux started at shortstop on Sunday. I know he's one of your sleeper hitters this week, Scott. He is 60% rostered. Josh Rojas, his last 15 games, the guy is mashing. 379 batting average, 4 homers, 1 steal. He's 68% rostered. And Brandon Crawford, where does this come from? Last 15 games, he's batting 318. He's got 6 homers and a steal, 45% rostered. Lux, Rojas, Crawford. Who's your favorite?
Of those 3, Rojas, I think they're all fine. You really can't do much better at shortstop off the waiver wire, unfortunately. However, one glaring omission there, I think, is Nico Horner, who just returned from the IL. True. And he's rostered in less than 50% of leagues. He's more available than both Lux and Rojas.
So where would he fall in this group, Scott?
I think he'd be number 1 for me, Horner.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Horner among Lux, above Lux, Rojas, and Crawford. What do you think, Chris?
I think I would go Horner, Rojas, Lux. Crawford, I have no idea. He had like 4 home runs in his first 8 or 9 games too, and then did nothing for like 15, and then he's been awesome like the last 15. And I really have no idea what to make of it.
Yeah,
there seem to be a lot of dead cat bounces going on with the San Francisco Giants between him, Buster Posey, Evan Longoria, a bunch of guys who we'd kind of left for dead. he's the least believable of the group.
Dead
I
cat
think.
bounces.
Yeah.
Do we know how
It's kind
Oracle
of a
Park's
gruesome term.
playing this year? I haven't seen any data for that.
Let
Is
me
it playing
look.
more like it did last year, or is it back to being?
I actually looked this up recently, and I think they were like top 10 in WOBA at home, or maybe it was OPS. I think they were top 10 in OPS at home this year. They were like top 5 last year. And then basically the 3 years before that, they were like 29th, 30th. So,
Okay, so Oracle, according to StatCast, this season has a 96 overall park factor, 94 on xWOBA contact, which is bottom 6 or 7 in the league in both regards. And that's not taking into account the 3-year rolling average. Last year, it was actually top 10 in park factor, but this is why you use 3-year rolling averages. I wonder, this year has been better than 2019 was across the board. So it could just be that this park is much better, or at least is playing better for hitters since the introduction of the shortened fences. And is it just right center?
They kind of cut off that gap between the in right center. Yeah.
And that as the weather warms up, it may look more like last season.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Crawford's been putting the ball in the air more. I know that his X slug is over 500. I agree with Chris that he's the least believable of the dead cat bounce backs or whatever he called it. And
it's a term. I didn't make that up.
It sounds like a term that's real.
If anyone here was going to make that term up, I don't think it would be me.
But I know in a couple leagues where I had Seager, Crawford was the best you could do off waivers. I mean, sometimes you just have to go with the hot hand and hope for the best.
Yeah. The Giants, just in terms of, this isn't park factors, but just their OPS at home this year, they are 14th in baseball. Last year, they were 6th. And then the previous 3 years, they were between 28th and 30th. So, maybe as the weather heats up, we will get closer to that, top 10, top 5 range that they were in last year for the San Francisco Giants. Some more Dodgers news. David Price will be activated Monday, and AJ Pollock was placed on the IL with a left hamstring injury. The team signed Albert Pujols and also traded with the Rays for Yoshi Tsutsugo. Any interest in either? In, I would have to imagine, the deepest of leagues. And only they're going to come available.
Yeah, there was a report that the Dodgers kind of talked to Yoshi Tsutsugo and told him like they identified some flaws in his swing that they think they can turn around. And obviously this is an organization with a very strong history of turning relative nobodies into very good players. Your Chris Taylors, and even this season, someone like Matt Beattie, Max Muncy. So it's possible there's something there. He's still, his max exit velo this year is still very high. I need to see it first. But yeah, he's worth adding in NL only leagues just because he's active.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the name there, Yoshi Tsutsugo, now with the Dodgers. Ronald Acuna missed all 3 games this weekend with that left ankle injury he suffered on Thursday. He remains day-to-day. Jazz Chisholm was activated and leading off for the Marlins on Sunday. Jacob deGrom is scheduled to throw a bullpen session on Tuesday. He could return as early as Friday against the Marlins if all goes well during that bullpen. JT Realmuto and Bryce Harper both left Saturday's game with injuries. Neither was in the lineup on Sunday. Giancarlo Stanton didn't play any games this weekend due to left quad tightness. Ketel Marte will start a rehab assignment on Monday. Ty France was placed on the IL Friday with left wrist inflammation. He was hit by a pitch on his forearm on April 28th. He was just 3 for 45 in 13 games after being hit by that pitch on his forearm. So perhaps that is the reason why he was struggling so mightily. Aaron Hicks was placed in the IL and may need surgery to replace a torn tendon sheath in his left wrist. The Yankees selected 32-year-old outfielder Ryan Lamar, though prospect Estevan Florial's name was brought up. Florial was recently promoted to AAA. He's got a name that we need to be paying attention to in AL only. Obviously, like dynasty leagues, he's probably owned already, but Estevan Florial with the Yankees.
I haven't seen what he's doing this year. I feel like his stock has fallen pretty sharply the past few years.
The batting average is low last I checked. I think it was like 229 and
4 homers in 10 games, 231 overall.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, he's not somebody I'm particularly excited about at this point. No, I mean he has been a few years ago he was considered a pretty high end prospect, but the last time he was in the top 100 was heading into the 2018 season.
Yeah, and it's not crazy for Yankees prospects to get overhyped, as we've seen in the past. Jesus Luzardo has continued playing catch from 60 feet over the last several days, but has yet to throw a bullpen session. Both Michael Conforto and Jeff McNeil left Sunday with hamstring tightness. Jose Peraza could be in for more playing time, though he's been playing more recently. He has 4 hits over his last 4 games, including a 3-run homer he hit this weekend. Jose Urquidy was placed on the 10-day IL with right shoulder discomfort. Steven Strasburg made a rehab start at AAA on Sunday. He struck out 6 over 4 1/3 shutout and finished with 75 pitches. Kenta Maeda received treatment for groin soreness after Sunday's start. It was another meh performance from him. He was in line to start against Cleveland. Would you guys take the chance and leave him in the lineup or just get him out?
I mean, I'd go with Hendricks or Bundy or basically any of those struggling pitchers we talked about over him. I do want to point out if there's something to be encouraged about with Maeda, the whiff rate in his last 2 starts now on the splitter, the whiff rate on the splitter, which was his best pitch last year, it's been back to normal at 2 starts in a row. I mean, neither of the starts was good, so I don't know how to square that, but I take that as a good sign. But clearly he's not must start at this point.
Charlie Blackmon is dealing with a mild groin strain and was not in the lineup on Sunday. Jake Odorizzi will begin a rehab assignment on Monday. James Caprillion will be skipped during the next turn through the A's rotation, so he will not have 2 starts this week as previously expected. Luke Weaver was pulled Sunday due to right shoulder discomfort. Tyler O'Neill is day-to-day with a sprained left middle finger. And some prospect updates from the weekend. Wander Franco hit a grand slam on Saturday. His teammate, Vidal Brujan, added another home run and another steal this weekend. He's up to 5 homers and 3 steals. Was more so known for that speed tool coming in, but we spoke about him a little bit last week. The power seems kind of legit, at least early on. Joe Adell is now up to 4 homers and 2 steals, but has 17 strikeouts in 10 games. And if you're interested in going back, I did a prospect update kind of review of what's going on so far with the Welsh on our YouTube channel. So you could go and check that out. He kind of gave his scouting report on the Mariners guys and Alek Manoah and a bunch of other big names in the minors right now. So that's on our YouTube channel.
If I can mention something about Brujan real quick.
Sure.
He's a switch hitter. And in the past, the scouting reports talked about, he has pop from the left side at least. 3 of his 5 home runs have come from the right side. So that makes it especially interesting.
I saw that he has more walks than strikeouts to this point as well. I think it's 9 walks to 8 strikeouts. So pretty good plate discipline early on.
Wouldn't it be funny if you beat Franco to the majors? I mean, he's 3 years older.
Yeah.
It might happen. He's been playing a lot of, he's just, naturally a middle infielder. He's been playing the outfield a lot though in the minors.
Yeah. And there's like shortstop isn't as big of a need as the outfield seems to be right now for the Rays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They really don't have much offense. Rosarena is coming around a little bit more, as is Austin Meadows, but they've been a team that's been swinging and missing all year long. And, we know what the Rays are. They're built on pitching in their bullpen and defense. But, Brujan's been playing all over in the minor leagues. He's been playing second base, third base, some shortstop, and the outfield as well. So might wind up being a utility guy for the Rays, which is not a bad thing. He'll still find a way to play every single
whole team. Utility guys.
Yeah, basically, right? Let's take a look at some of those other fringe starting pitchers for this upcoming week. This is week 8 in fantasy baseball. We'll start with Aaron Savale at the Mariners this weekend. He allowed 5 runs over 6 2/3. He has a 4.33 ERA over his last 4 starts. And this week he is at the Angels. Starter sit in a 12-team league.
Probably start. I mean, probably start. He's not a pitcher I've ever given much thought to sitting.
All right. Fair enough. How about Dylan Cease? He's just kind of okay in 2 starts since that 11 strikeout game. And he's going up against the Yankees this week in Yankee Stadium. But be surprised to know the Yankees have actually struggled against right-handed pitching this year. They're 18th in weighted on base average. So Dylan Cease at the Yankees, starter sit.
I don't think there's any way I could start Dylan. I don't think he's earned that.
I mean, he does have a 2.80 ERA this year. Just
Yeah.
not deep enough in the starts overall.
Yeah.
But you mentioned the last 2 starts were meh, Frank. One of those was a 20 whiff effort, and like remember when I pointed out how he made that when he kind of turned on the spin rate on his pitches, like his fastball and slider are both among the highest spin pitches in baseball. That's held over these past few starts. So I mean, I'm not saying I definitely start him. Depends what else I have, but I wouldn't be afraid to start him, I guess.
He's too walk and fly ball prone to start against the Yankees, I think. Is that at Yankee Stadium too?
Yeah. I think that's what makes it even more scary is that he walks so many, and the Yankees just have like the best plate discipline in the league. So they swing and miss a lot, but they take a lot of pitches as well. So I could see that being a short outing for Dylan Cease this upcoming week. I probably lean towards sitting him in a 12-teamer. How about Nick Pivetta? I think more so as a spark, but he's been solid. The ERA is all the way down to 3.16. He is doing it while walking a ton. 6 shutout this week, 6 innings of 2-run ball, with 7 strikeouts against the Angels. This upcoming week, he is at the Toronto Blue Jays.
All right, so Cease's ERA is actually 2.41. He lowered it on Sunday. No, I wouldn't start Pivetta. I wasn't enthusiastic about starting him, even when he was in line for 2 starts this past week.
Fair enough. We already talked about Kyle Hendricks. Let's move ahead to Cole Irvin, who this weekend 6 2/3, 1 earned, only 2 walks, only 2 strikeouts, which was against the Twins. Pretty impressive. But the ERA down to 3.02. Starters at Cole Irvin at the Angels.
I would hope I have better options. I mean, he's 68% coming off a 2-start week, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
What makes
it going to go down?
What makes him tempting in points leagues, and I actually have him in one, is that he's RP eligible and he keeps, how many quality starts in a row is it? It's like 6 or something that he's up to. But it's going to fall apart eventually. I look at that 431 xFIP and I'm like, yeah, you got to play that one carefully.
Which spark would you rather start? Nick Pivetta at the Blue Jays or Cole Irvin at the Angels?
I think actually Irvin, if I was forced to start one, but I don't really want to.
All right. Last but not least, we said on Friday you can't start him. Somebody pointed out to me via email, maybe it was a tweet this weekend, that Luis Castillo, while he's been awful everywhere, he is better at home. He's got an ERA over 10 on the road. He's got a 5.49 ERA at home. His 2 starts this week are against the Giants and the Brewers. They both come at home in Great American Ballpark.
No.
Can't start him.
Nope.
All right.
In my 2-start pitcher rankings, he is the highest ranked of the no thanks group. So no thanks.
Yes, Chris says yes.
Oh, he's doing it.
The turnaround happens. You guys were all saying there's no way you can start Kyle Hendricks. Oh, he stinks. He's finished. He should retire. Direct quote from both of you just last week. And look at him now.
Actually, what were you saying at the time? I don't remember you taking.
I said there's no way you can start him at Coors.
Castillo, yeah, but we're talking about Hendricks against the Tigers.
Oh, I said I didn't have any problem with him.
Okay.
All right. Well,
and as someone pointed out, like 12 days ago, there was a drop Patrick Corbin headline in the FBT feed. And now there was a drop Luis Castillo feed headline. So
I think it had a question mark in
it. What's going to happen.
Yeah. I always put, is this person droppable?
Yeah. You turn it into a question. You're just presenting the topic. You're not saying, it's not a declarative headline.
17 strikeouts, 5 walks in 14 innings this week.
Oh man,
put it on the board.
I hope so. You can put it on the board. I hope so because I have a few Castillo shares and it's not good. I am currently benching him wherever I have him. We're going to take a quick break, but when we return, we have to talk about offense eventually. We'll talk about some hitters, some stud starting pitchers as well, and of course the waiver wire. We'll do that next here on Fantasy Baseball Today. We had a bunch of dingers this weekend, and we'll start with Aaron Judge, who had a double dong on, I believe it was Friday. 4 home runs total this weekend. Apologies to anybody who faced Aaron Judge in a points league or in any type of head-to-head matchup because you got crushed. Aaron Judge is now tied for the league lead with 12 home runs. With who? Shohei Ohtani. He had 2 more home runs this weekend, and the other name is Mitch Haniger. So there you go. I think it's a 4-way tie at this point. Mitch Haniger, Aaron Judge, Shohei Ohtani, and Ronald Acuna, who didn't even play at all this weekend. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. homered in 3 straight. He is now up to 11 home runs. Jared Kelenic had 3 hits on Friday, including 2 doubles, and his first home run of the season. It came off of Aaron Savale. Eduardo Escobar had a double dong on Saturday with 7. That's right. You heard it right. 7 RBI. He is actually one of the most dropped players in CBS right now as well. Scott, should you be holding on to Eduardo Escobar?
No, I don't think you need to. He had been pretty lousy leading up to this home run, and I wasn't, he's going to hit his share of home runs, but I don't think there's much else there. And it just depends on how much of a need you have at either of the positions he's eligible. I do want to mention with Judge, I feel like this is the best version of Judge we've ever seen.
Tell me.
His strikeout rate is around 27%. That's amazing for him. XBA 335 coming into today's game. X-Slug 652. It's the batting average is the XBA is well higher than during that amazing 2017 season. The X-Slug's about the same. I was surprised to see how few head-to-head points per game he has, considering I think the rest of the Yankees lineup is killing him. His run and RBI totals are pretty low, considering how many home runs he has. But I do think that'll correct itself over time. And, the only concern with Judge as always is if he can keep that big body on the field.
Mm-hmm.
But while it's there, he's somebody to,
awesome.
It's awesome.
He has been moved down to number 3 in the lineup, so hopefully that can help with those RBI totals. For years, he was batting second, and they moved Stanton up to number 2. Stanton hasn't played this weekend, as I mentioned, but yeah, maybe we could get more counting stats from Aaron Judge. I could already hear Chris groaning before I even asked this question, but should we be looking to sell high on Aaron Judge while he's healthy?
No. I mean, if you're comfortable, if you feel like you're in a place where you can sell an elite hitter, go for it, man. But that ain't me in any leagues. So I'm just going to ride it.
Yeah, it's hard to find hitting. We talk about it basically every week, although things are coming around. We're going to talk about that probably more on tomorrow's podcast. I saw a good tweet from you this weekend, Scott, about how offense is up in May. And there are a few hitters that are making adjustments. So I want to talk about some of those guys throughout the course of this week. But yeah, Aaron Judge getting it done. Just stay healthy, bud. Some studs being studs in the rotation. I just had 2 names that I wanted to ask you guys about. Kevin Gausman, guy has been ridiculous at the Pirates. I get it, whatever. It's the Pirates on Friday, but 8 innings, 1 run, 0 walks, 12 strikeouts, 21 swinging strikes on 96 pitches. He is now a top 8 starting pitcher in both head-to-head points leagues and in Roto. Buy or sell, Kevin Gausman is a top 20 starting pitcher in fantasy baseball.
I think we got a new magical team capable of doing magical things. And that team is the Giants. Because this is the best Kevin Gausman we've ever seen. And I could have said that last year, but now I'm saying it this year all over again. I don't see anything to complain about. Any major red flags or anything. Do you, Chris?
Besides the typical, it's a small sample size still, but we are going on 90 innings of this now, dating back to last season, a little more than that, actually 112.
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean, he mostly looks pretty good. I think there's been good luck in terms of, results on balls in play, but when you have a 1.84 ERA, chances are, unless you're Jacob deGrom, you've had a little bit of good luck. So it's not so egregious that I think it screams sell. He seems to have turned into the strikeout pitcher that we were hoping he would be way back when. And, as long as that's true, you can live with the fact that he still does get hit pretty hard.
When you update your rankings this week, Chris, will Kevin Gausman climb inside your top 20?
Not top 20. No.
Okay.
He's I 31 right now. I'm gonna move him up to.
I might put him in my 20.
I have him at 20 right now. It's just behind
Might.
Alcantara and Zach Wheeler, just ahead of Rodon, John Means, and Charlie Morton.
There's some guys that I'm struggling to move down. Well, Zach Gallen's going to be pretty easy to move down now. I need to get him down.
I did that one already.
Musgrove, struggling to move him down, but I think you could justify it.
Yeah, like if you had Kevin Gausman and someone offered you Blake Snell,
Yeah,
I
already have
don't know if
Gausman
I would
ahead
do
of
that.
Snell. Yeah,
that would be really hard to do.
I would definitely hold on to Gausman.
Yeah, I don't know. Ian Anderson.
I
would hold on to Gausman.
I would keep Gausman.
Anderson's
Someone
been
offered
pretty
me-
good.
Someone offered me Castillo. I would keep Gausman.
Yep. Yeah, I have Gausman
Yeah.
at 25 currently. Let's just say 24 because Gallen's going to be out of there for sure. So it's more about Gausman versus Rodon and Alcantara, who had a bad start. Not that I'm worried about him. Like the Zach Wheeler, Jose Barrios, Hyunjin Ryu class, where you're just like, well, there's nothing wrong with them. Yeah.
But do they have that kind of upside, right? The way that Gausman
exactly.
kind of pitching right now, it's I think rightfully so. He has moved his way ahead of those guys. How about Freddie Peralta? Just keeps getting it done as well. This time against the Braves, one of the best lineups in baseball. 6 shutout on Sunday, 2 hits, 1 walk, 8 strikeouts, 21 swinging strikes on 88 pitches. The ERA down to 2.40 for Freddie Peralta. Buy or sell, Peralta is a top 30 starting pitcher.
I have him 34 currently. I could make the case to move him into the 30. Let's see. Yeah, I'm going to sell for now, but not by much. Not by much. I do worry about workload long term, but 3 of his past 4 starts have been 6+, I believe.
And
so they're letting him work like a starter. So that's kind of that consideration is off the table. It's just how long will he be free to do that?
I keep waiting for teams to figure him out a little bit because he still relies on just 2 pitches. He's very fastball and slider heavy, where, in the past he would throw his fastball 70+% of the time.
Right.
It's in that 50,
not anymore.
50 to 60% range, and he uses his slider basically the rest of the time. But
my understanding is his fastball is kind of more than 1 pitch in and of itself. He varies it a lot.
Yep.
So.
And he's always been so hard to hit.
Yeah.
Like he's always going to run low hits per 9. The biggest change so far, I mean, 1 walk and 4 of his last 5 starts. If that's real, then he's probably a top 30 starting pitcher, even with the workload concerns. He's only thrown more than 93 pitches once, but 90 plus in 4 of 9. It's probably better than I would have expected, given that he started out in the bullpen. I have him 37, but as I've said many times over the last couple of weeks, there is very little separating like number 18 from number 40 right now. So
I don't know if it's too rash, but why would I want Blake Snell or Kenta Maeda instead of Freddie Peralta right now?
Well,
the way that he's pitching, it's
because history didn't start on April 14th. That's the answer. I don't want to be too flippant, but like Freddie Peralta has been awesome for like 7 starts, which are 5 starts really. And like, that's great, but he's thrown 237 innings in his career with a 4.24 ERA. He has made changes. He is developing. He is young, but like there is still a reason Freddie Peralta was mostly undrafted in most leagues, 12-team leagues at least. And Blake Snell was a top 40 overall player for, I believe, all 3 of us. But
but at the same time, we've been holding on to that 2018 Cy Young season for Snell for a long time. And
he's been mediocre for basically his past 30 starts. I think it's like a 3.99 ERA.
Just looking at the ratios before you even consider he hasn't had a 6-inning start since midway through 2019.
Is that including the playoff run last year?
Including the playoff run, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, I mean like his ERA.
Oh, no.
That 3.99 over the last 30 starts.
No.
Like, we know he had bad luck in 2019. That was something that we all talked about at the time. He was striking out more batters than ever. He had a really high BABIP. He basically had like 2 really bad starts, I think, and he was dealing with injuries. Last year, it was frustrating. He only threw 50 innings on 11 starts, but he had a 3.24 ERA. I think it is worth remembering who Blake Snell has been, despite the fact that it has been a frustrating ride overall. And I haven't really drafted him kind of since 2018. But, I think it's worth acknowledging, like, we're still talking about a much better track record than Freddie Peralta's, who I like a lot.
Yeah. No, I hear what you're saying. That's why I don't want to be too reactionary, but I thought it was something worth bringing up as Freddie Peralta is ascending up the rankings. Let's take a look at some waiver wire catchers. If you need a catcher in a 1-catcher league, few names that might be available for you. Yan Gomes went 5 for 6 with a triple and 4 singles. He's batting .286. I believe that was either on Friday or Saturday. The Nationals had a crazy game. It was like 17 runs scored. He is 37% rostered and has 7 games this week. How about William Contreras, who is 30% rostered in 11 games since Travis d'Arnaud went down, batting .263 with 3 homers. Omar Narvaez went 3 for 4 with a double and an RBI on Sunday. He is batting .359. He just returned on Thursday, 67% rostered. And Austin Nola had a huge game on Saturday, went 3 for 5 with a homer, 6 RBI. He is 46% rostered. Gomes, William Contreras, Narvaez, Austin Nola in a 1-catcher league if you need one.
Narvaez for sure.
Yeah.
Cool. He's kind of having the season we were hoping he would have last season when he first got traded to the Brewers.
Right. And I like that he's picked up where he left off, coming off the IL.
And Nola, you mentioned, or I guess you didn't mention, but it's here in the notes. He's played at second and first base so far. He is a converted shortstop, I believe. I think he was converted fairly late into his career, like his mid-20s. So, that's interesting. I don't know how much it matters, except that, it could get him in the lineup more.
Yep, and a lineup that is depleted right now with no Tatis, but still, they do have some big names up there. So some RBI opportunities as long as he's hitting in the middle there. But Omar Narvaez, the favorite for these gents. Let's take a look at some other waiver wire hitters that might be available. Of these names, these are all rostered in, I believe it's 52% or less. So they're pretty available. Ian Happ went 3 for 4 with a home run, a double, 2 runs, and 2 RBI on Sunday. He is 50% rostered. Tommy Pham has 4 hits with a home run and a steal over his last 5 games. Robbie Grossman's last 7, he's batting .429, 43% rostered. Dylan Moore, batting average is still kind of low, but he's coming around. He's got 3 homers, 3 steals in May. Bobby Dahlbeck has 5 hits with 2 home runs over his last 4 games. Harrison Bader in 16 games this season, he's batting .269, 4 homers, 2 steals. Jonathan VR, he homered off of Tyler Glasnow on Friday. He has 13 straight starts for the New York Mets. Happ, Pham, Grossman, Dylan Moore, Bobby Dahlbeck, Harrison Bader, and Jonathan VR. Your favorites, if anyone stands out to you.
I think Grossman's about the point where if you need outfield help, really in any format, he's somebody you need to make a play for. He bats leadoff most of the time. He's actually underperforming his expected stats. He's already stolen 7 bases. Always been a great on-base guy. Batting leadoff for the Tigers doesn't mean as much as batting leadoff for, I was going to say the Yankees, but, a good hitting team. But yeah, I mean, he's shown flashes in the past, and I think he's to that point.
I don't want to give up on Ian Happ. He is swinging and missing a ton. Overall, his let me see, what's his chase? No, he's just like swinging, missing 71% zone contact rate. Whiff rate is 37%. All of those are career worst or right up there with the career worst. But he's hitting the ball really hard when he is making contact. And coming into the season, but since he came back from AAA, he had been on something like a 40 homer pace over 2019 and 2020. So I still believe in him. If he's out there, I think he's worth a look.
Some waiver wire pitchers who are rostered in less than 60% of CBS leagues. Brady Singer on Sunday, 6 1/3, 2 runs, 7 strikeouts. He is up against the Tigers this week. Shane McClanahan picked up his first win of the season on Saturday against the Mets. He
went deep enough to get a win. Who
Yeah, he
knew?
did. And he threw 75 pitches, and he's now thrown either 75 or 80 in each of his past 2 starts. So his first 2, that was 65 or less. So, I mean, they're working up the pitch count a little bit here for Shane McClanahan. Mike Minor, he was at the White Sox this weekend, 7 innings, 1 run, 7 strikeouts. Griffin Canning at the Red Sox, 6 innings, 2 runs, 7 strikeouts. Luis Garcia up against the Rangers. Doesn't go deep, but continues to get it done. 5 innings, 1 run, 5 strikeouts. And Drew Smyly has allowed just 1 earned run over his last 2 starts. He's only 26% rostered. So between Singer, McClanahan, Mike Minor, Griffin Canning, Luis Garcia, Drew Smyly, your favorite?
You probably have to go McClanahan here. If they're showing they're not going to limit him to 4 innings every time. I mean, obviously there's a lot of strikeout potential there, a lot of upside. I do really like Luis Garcia, and Jose Urquidy just went on the IL with, I think it was shoulder inflammation or something. So one of those injuries that's vague enough that you don't really know how much time he's going to miss. But with Framber Valdez beginning a rehab assignment, I was worried that Garcia might not have much staying power. If Urquidy's out too, maybe he does. Maybe he does. I'm really interested in Luis Garcia's good whiff rate, diverse arsenal, really good minor league track record, and been pretty reliable here as short as his starts have been.
I'll give some love to Brady Singer, who got rocked in his first start, 5 earned runs and 3 1/3 on April 4th. Since then, he has a 3.06 ERA with 35 K and 35 1/3 innings, only averaging 5 innings per start in that span. But he's had like 2 really low short starts, and then he's gone 5 2/3 and 4 out of 8 or 7 overall. So I think he's probably better than the overall numbers look. And I just added him last week in Tout Wars and pretty happy with what he gave me this week.
All right, let's take a look at some deeper leagues, some hitters that might be available. Jock Peterson is batting .400 with a 25% strikeout rate in 10 games since returning from the IL. He's 31% rostered. David Dahl over his last 7. He's batting .280 with 2 homers and 1 steal. Yandy Diaz has 7 hits over his last 4 games with a 17% walk rate to just a 13% strikeout rate on the season. Hits still way too many ground balls. And Jonathan Scope, he has 9 hits over his last 6 games. He is 12% rostered. So if you are in a deeper league, guys, Jock Peterson, David Dahl, Yandy Diaz, Jonathan Scope, any interest?
Jock Peterson is probably the most interesting, even though it looks like he's been sitting against lefties again. He's gonna have a power surge here sooner or later, where he hits a bunch of home runs in a short period of time, and everyone's gonna be like, "How could he have been so available?" And then by the time his percentage gets up over 80, he'll have another offer, and everybody will drop him and miss out. So now's the time to pick him up before that home run surge has happened.
Yandy in an OBP league, he's got 408 OBP for the season, and man, if he really could just like elevate the ball a little bit, he would be good. I remember there's a lot of like, wow, the Rays, what a brilliant, they fixed Yandy Diaz, and it's like, well, no, he's never had a launch angle above 6 degrees in his career.
Yeah.
If he ever did, though, I think he would be like, he could be a must-start player. There are must-start player skills.
Well,
there with Yandy Diaz.
But 2 years ago, he was pretty close to must start.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, I can't remember. Was he not playing every day, or did he get hurt? Because he only played 79 games.
I think he got hurt.
He got hurt, yeah.
Yeah.
And originally, when the Rays traded for Yandy Diaz, that's what they said. They said, look, we found a flaw in his swing. We're going to fix it. And it hasn't really happened yet. But, oh, man. Chris, you're right. You brought up the word beefcake last week to describe Jared Kelenic. Yeah. Yandy Diaz, that man is a beefcake. So if he can ever figure it out, could be a lot of power there. But, yeah, I do like him in OBP format, some deeper points leagues as well. Some pitchers in deeper leagues. Vince Velasquez, he is 9% rostered. He versus the Marlins this week. Eric Fedde at the Diamondbacks on Sunday. He had pitched 7 shutout. It's 10% rostered. He's up against the Orioles this week. And Martin Perez pitched 6 shutout against the Angels this weekend. He is at the Phillies. All 3 of these pitchers are 15% rostered or less.
I mean, I don't see much to like about any of them. I feel like Vince Velasquez, his performance is what we always hoped it would be from him, but not enough underlying changes there for me to buy into it.
Yeah. Shouts to Eric Fetty for helping me continue to beat the odds in the Scott White Dynasty League. He's been a mainstay in the rotation and just keeping his head above water long enough to help me out. So shouts to my guy.
I lost by 1 point in the Scott White Dynasty League to Al Melchior because I had Nate Pearson in my lineup, but he got sent down after lineups locked. So
I am 5-1 somehow, despite starting Mike Fultonevich and Eric Fetty every single week.
He was so bad. Man.
24 teamer.
Yeah, it's Dynasty League. We gotta rebuild. Any names here these are the deepest of leagues, super deep leagues. Andy Young, or might be named Andrew Young on other sites. He's kind of a journeyman for the Diamondbacks, but did put up some big numbers in the minors in 2019. Andy Young, Nicky Lopez, Shogo Akiyama, Odubel Herrera, Kyle Farmer with the Reds, and G-Man Choi, who made his season debut on Sunday. Anything in the deepest of leagues.
I mean, anybody can matter in a deep league. It's hard to like. I think there's not nothing there with Andy Young. I just don't know if he's going to play enough to really matter. I think I guess Herrera or Akiyama might have the clearest path to playing time among these, like at least semi-regular playing time.
Well, Choi, right?
Yeah, but he's still going to be a platoon bat, right?
Yeah, he's probably not going to play against lefties.
Semi-regular
Is he
playing
still
time.
trying to switch hit? Is that still a thing?
I don't know. I haven't heard much about that recently, but yeah, I mean, these are basically AL and NL only options, if that.
Yeah.
Young might be available in my 12-team NL only league.
All right, so I hope I helped you find a diamond in the rough there, Scott. But yeah,
We'll see.
Those are some names there in the deepest.
I've had Young in that league in the past.
Nice. I did want to highlight some Nationals hitters who hopefully they're coming around. Victor Robles had 5 hits with 3 RBI and 2 steals this weekend. So hopefully he can build off of it. Same thing with Josh Bell. He sat out on Sunday, but he had 4 hits with a home run and 5 RBI in his previous 3 games before that. Kyle Schwarber's last 7 games, he's batting .321 with 3 homers, 1 steal. He is 65% rostered. 7 games this upcoming week, all against right-handed pitching. So maybe Schwarber's a name you want to look at as well. Wanted to highlight a few Rockies hitters. Josh Fuentes has 11 hits with 2 homers and 13 RBI over his last 5 games. All of those games have been in Coors Field. He is 17% rostered. Jonathan Daza has started 5 straight. He has 13 hits during that span, so doing very well. Connor Joe, another one, NL only leagues. He has started 8 straight for the Rockies. He has 10 hits.
Now that's a guy I'm kind of interested in, Connor Joe.
All right, tell me, Scott.
Hell, just look at his minor league numbers. On base machine. And remember, he got a chance at the start of the year for the Giants 2 years ago, and everyone was kind of hyping him up then. Ended up going 1 for 15. We thought we'd never hear from him again, but he's getting it done for the Rockies. So yeah, 2019, 300 batting average, 426 OBP, 15 homers in 105 games. The year before was really strong too, between double and triple A, similar numbers. And yeah, I mean, the Rockies, they have a lot of holes in that lineup. I don't know if he keeps reaching base at a 400 clip or better. I think they'd give Connor Joe a chance, and anybody who's getting regular playing time with Coors Field in the equation has a chance to be a factor in fantasy. You know, Sam Hilliard's out of there. They sent him down. There might be room here for Connor Joe. Somebody to keep an eye on.
Connor Joe, 1% rostered on CBS Sports Leagues. The call to the pen, some bullpen updates from the weekend for the San Francisco Giants. Jake McGee entered on Friday with runners on first and second in a 1-run game. He allowed a game-tying single to Brian Reynolds. Then on Saturday, Jake McGee allowed 3 hits and 2 runs in a tie game. He took the loss. Tyler Rogers on Sunday picked up his 4th save. Jake McGee had worked 2 straight, as mentioned, and 4 of the last 6. Tyler Rogers is 29% rostered. Guys, you think we're closer to him potentially taking over here? I know Gabe Kapler has already mentioned he Tyler Rogers is going to work his way in.
Yeah, I mean, Jake McGee since about the middle of April, right, has been pretty much a disaster. So I don't know why we wouldn't see more of Tyler Rogers.
Mm-hmm. Jonathan Loaisiga picked up a save for the Yankees on Friday. Matt Barnes for the Red Sox got his 9th on Friday. He allowed a 2-run home run to Ohtani on Sunday. He took his first blown save and loss of the season. Barnes has been phenomenal besides that. Craig Kimbrell got his 7th save on Friday. He allowed 2 hits and 2 runs. He took a blown save and a loss on Saturday. Daniel Bard got his 4th save on Friday. Michael Givens on Sunday. He came in for a first save in a 1-run game, proceeded to allow 2 runs to score. He took the loss there. Daniel Bard was unavailable in that one. For the Mariners this weekend, Kendall Graveman recorded 4 outs across the 6th and 7th on Friday. Rafael Montero got a 1-out save for his 5th of the season. And then on Sunday, Rafael Montero was used in the 6th. Kendall Graveman was used in the 9th again for his 5th save. I don't think there's any rhyme or reason. Does anyone know anything that's going on with the Mariners? Or
I mean, Graveman's the one I want. I think he's the most trusted reliever, and sometimes that means he's going to be used prior to the 9th. And so maybe Montero will still sneak it a save, but like Montero's already blown 5 saves. So I don't even know how longer he's going to be the backup plan, to be honest.
Yeah.
Kendall
Graveman looks really, really good as a reliever too. So I think he's in as much as there is a guy, I think he's the guy.
Kendall Graveman is 51% rostered. So if you play in a category league, he might be available, and he's the one that we want for the Mariners. Let's take a look at the Padres. Mark Melancon had 2 saves this weekend. He is now up to 14. He leads all of baseball in that category. For the Oakland A's, there's another fun one. Jake Diekman, he allowed a go-ahead 3-run homer in the 8th inning on Saturday. He took the blown save and the loss. And then on Sunday, he came back, allowed 3 hits again, 2 runs in a 2-run game. And then Lou Trevino recorded the final 4 outs and got the win. This one kind of seems like it's just been going back and forth between Diekman and Lou Trevino, but maybe Trevino has the leg up now with Diekman allowing runs over the weekend.
Yeah, I think he does. I think typically when they've used Diekman in the 9th, it's because they needed Trevino in the 8th, just the way the matchups lined up. I think if I had to pick one, it'd be Trevino, but they've both been pretty useful.
Mm-hmm. For the Twins on Saturday, Alex Colomé pitched in the 8th inning, down 4-1 at the time. And then Hansel Robles pitched in the 9th. They took the lead. He got his first save of the season. Taylor Rogers was last used on May 13th.
So the timing of that is tricky, obviously, since they came back from down 3 to take the lead. And I don't know exactly when Robles was warming up, but he may have just been the guy who was warm. Having said that, Taylor Rogers has been pretty bad. We know Alex Colomé has been out of it for a while. Taylor Rogers came in on Sunday to pitch in what was it was a tie game. It was a tie game, and actually he blew the tie.
Yeah.
So Robles was the guy I was speculating on in those 15-team roto leagues where you can't find saves anywhere. I won him in a couple for like 27, like 3% of my budget, basically. I think there's a chance. I mean, obviously he was the Angels closer a couple years ago. I think there's a chance he's going to be the front runner now.
I will say it was an unearned run. It was one of those kind of stupid unearned runs. It was a wild pitch, so like that should be an earned run because it was the pitcher who threw the pitch, but he allowed 1 hit. There was a fielder's choice. He got a strikeout, and the runner was able to reach. So, it's kind of not necessarily as bad as it looks, maybe.
The Tampa Bay Rays are
okay. Sorry. It was even worse than that. He struck out the first batter, gave up a single. There was a fielder's choice. Then Rogers, there was a fielder's choice. Rogers threw Laureano out at third, except that the third baseman couldn't catch it. So Laureano reached third, also was safe at first. So 2 things went wrong there to lead to that. So, not sure how worrisome it is for Rogers there, at least, but he allowed runs in 3 in previous 4.
I just don't know that they really want him closing to begin with.
Yeah, I feel
so shaky in the role.
I kind of feel like they want Colomé there.
Yeah.
And they're just like, now that he's looking better, he hasn't allowed a run in 5 appearances. I could see them going back to him.
Yeah, I could too.
Yeah,
But-
it's just one of those things where they paid for him, and yeah, it's like the politics of baseball. Like they don't know, they just kind of want to prove that they made the right decision in signing him. So we'll see. The Tampa Bay Rays, they are back potentially. Diego Castillo was used in the 6th inning with the Rays up 4-0 on Sunday. Andrew Kittredge and Jeffrey Springs got the only 2 saves while Diego Castillo was out. Do we think this is just, okay, Diego Castillo's first game back, they kind of just want to work him back in? Or is it just a complete mess again?
It could be either. Neither would surprise. They were so consistent with Castillo before he got hurt, and it's not like they have a ton of closer caliber relievers in that bullpen right now. So I'm not worried. I'm trying not to worry too much, but with the Rays, you never know.
The last
I
one,
would assume it's fine.
I hope
That
so.
was just like the first outing.
For the Royals on Sunday, Greg Holland recorded 5 outs across the 7th and the 8th in a 1-run game. Wade Davis then allowed 2 runs in the 9th. He took the blown save in the loss. Josh Stallmont was not available after pitching 3 of the last 4 days. I still think Stallmont's the guy, but interesting that they used Wade Davis earlier in the game, and rather they used Greg Holland earlier in the game and saved Davis for the 9th. So there you go. Royals, woo, good times. To stream or not to stream for Monday. Yusei Kikuchi versus the Tigers. Casey Mize at the Mariners. Logan Webb at the Reds. John Lester gets his revenge at the Cubs. Adbert Alzolay versus the Nationals. And J Happ versus the White Sox.
You say Kikuchi should not be a streamer. He should be rostered in. I mean, this is a 2-star week for him. His swing strike rate has been up the last few starts. I know his ERA is not great, but I think Yusei Kikuchi should be probably 60+% rostered heading into a 2-star week.
He is 71% roster.
Okay,
I usually use 70% as like the cutoff. So
90% then.
get it up there.
I never know
Kikuchi's-
how to like judge those things unless I actually like know them.
Right.
I'm not sure if Kikuchi's going to be a 2-star pitcher for what it's worth. I know he's pitching Monday, and in theory, that would line him up for Sunday. But the Mariners have only broke from the 6-man rotation once all year.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they will again. They have a lot of guys missing, but since he's going against Detroit the first time out, I think you can risk it in a, if it's a weekly lineup block league. But yeah, so Kikuchi would be number 1 choice here for me, followed by Alzolay and Casey Mize.
For Tuesday, Luis Patino at the Orioles. John Gant. Oh, we love that John Gant versus the Pirates. JT Brubaker at the Cardinals. Andrew Heaney versus Cleveland. Justin Dunn versus the Tigers, and Spencer Turnbull at the Mariners.
You make your little John Gant jokes, and every time, like, this dude has not allowed more than 3 earned runs in a start all season. He's got a 183 ERA. Yeah, he's got as many strikeouts as walks almost. But you know what? No, he's not. I think Brubaker, Heaney, and Turnbull are probably my favorites. Although Justin Dunn, I also like a decent amount as well.
I might go Gant over Turnbull, actually. But yeah, I think Heaney and Brubaker are the obvious 2 here.
Alrighty, for Scott and Chris, I am Frank. Thank you all for listening and watching Fantasy Baseball today. We'll be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.